Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we've got a truly unique stack of sources to unpack, all provided by you, our listener. It's really an incredible collection. I mean, it spans everything from personal well-being,
Yeah.
real estate headaches, all the way to these huge geopolitical narratives, economic shifts, even predictions about, believe it or not, an impending ice age. So our mission here is to distill the most important nuggets, the key insights from this very wide-ranging perspective, and try to connect these ideas that might seem totally separate at first glance. And just a reminder, we're your guides looking specifically at these sources, helping you understand their particular worldview and the claims they make. Okay, let's start with something probably a lot of people can relate to. The source mentions disrupted sleep. You know, waking up around 2 or 2:30 a.m., feeling sluggish, just off. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
Oh, absolutely. It's a common thread the source identifies, yeah. And they have a pretty unique explanation for it. They talk about what they call disruptive energies, described as cosmic ray kind of things. And these supposedly affect the electrical state of your vagus nervous system. That's a key nerve, regulates a lot of automatic stuff in your body, even while you're asleep, apparently, causing this sort of excitement, but in a resonance fashion, as they put it, as these energies interact with us.
Wow, okay. Cosmic rays affecting the vagus nerve. So for anyone dealing with that 2 a.m. wake-up call, the source actually offers a specific solution, right? Not melatonin, but something called pure sleep. What's the deal with that, according to them? What makes it different?
Right, pure sleep. Well, they state you can take it continuously, which is unlike melatonin sometimes. And they describe it, interestingly, not as a neural depressant, but a neural exciter. But crucially, without making you feel agitated. The claimed benefits, helping people feel good when you wake up, making you feel very positive about getting stuff done, and having more energy even if your sleep was shorter because of these external things. So yeah, the core insight is really that they're providing a tangible countermeasure, in their view, to these energies. And just practically, the source adds, it's back in stock, hopefully never, ever, ever, ever run out again.
Okay, good to know it's back in stock. Right, let's pivot a bit from personal wellness to something more grounded, literally, real estate. The source shares a pretty intense personal story about a building project. What were they up against?
Yeah, it sounds like a real challenge. This person, they wanted a single-story house, not the two-story rental they were in. So they bought this waterfront parcel, Hood Canal, part of the Olympic mountain range, described it as very raw and very steep. They even used the word alpike, to give a sense of how mountainous it was.
Alpike, okay. Sounds dramatic.
It was. The big hurdles were permitting, major issues getting a road cut in and a bridge built. Apparently there was an old logging bridge, but useless now, and a big creek runs through it. Plus the land is steep, prone to slides.
Oof. Sounds like a nightmare.
Pretty much. They even looked into a pre-built house, but the road access was just too steep for that. Impossible. And they were looking at a projected, get this, 10-year timeline just for the build-out, given the circumstances.
In years, wow.
Yeah. And on top of all that, general supply chain problems, even for basic stuff like, quote, plumbing gear, even though there was plenty of local wood.
A 10-year timeline plus supply chain chaos.
Yeah, a builder's nightmare sums it up. So, after all that struggle, the person is now looking for a different house, right? And interestingly, their personal struggle seems to connect to a wider observation the source makes out the housing market itself.
Exactly. That's the connection they draw. The source claims they've seen a 30 or 40% increase in listings in the Northwest specifically over previous winters, and they interpret this as a cresting wave.
Cresting wave. And why do they think that's happening?
Their reasoning is pretty blunt. The banking system breaking down and, quote, nobody's financing anything.
And they have a specific take on cash buyers, too, don't they?
Yeah, that's a key insight they offer. They point to cash purchases driving things, suggesting these cash deals push prices up because they're immediate, there are no financing delays, none of that uncertainty.
It's fascinating how, in this view, a personal housing challenge directly mirrors these huge global financial shifts, isn't it? It really highlights that connection, yeah. How local stuff can reflect these bigger economic currents, according to the source.
So we've gone from sleep to real estate to global finance. Quite a range already. Now, the source makes a significant turn. They talk about moving from an introductory phase, sometimes they call it their woo series, more speculative stuff, into something much deeper and, frankly, far more contentious. They call this phase Budo. And we really need to stress here the historical interpretations and the claims that follow. They are highly controversial, widely disputed. Our goal here is just to neutrally report on the specific perspective within the sources you provided.
Absolutely. Critical context. So the core claim from this viewpoint is stark. Ukraine is Khazaria. The source lays out a whole historical narrative. The Khazars, described as a nomadic people, a subset of the Mongols apparently, part of the Tartar Empire under Genghis Khan, or Temujin Genghis Khan, as they name him. This Khazarian empire, they say, was a kind of small remnant empire, covering areas like modern Ukraine, Poland, Lithuania, Estonia. And it was positioned right between the Christian, Holy Roman Empire, Byzantine side, and the Muslim Turkmen, or Ottoman Turk Empire.
Okay, so caught between two major powers, a squeeze play, as the source puts it.
Precisely. That's the dilemma they faced, according to this account, caught between these two potentially hostile empires. And the source asserts that the Khazarian leadership, their deep state, made a strategic decision to convert to Judaism as a kind of third way out to survive.
Right, strategic conversion. But the source makes a further very controversial claim about their heritage.
Yes, extremely controversial. The source claims these Khazars are not Jewish by heritage, not descended from Judah or Shem. They describe them instead as pre-Adamite people. That's a term often found in fringe theories. They also discuss what the source calls the invention of Yiddish, taking the Jewish alphabet, but applying their own Proto-German or Eastern European words and sounds, creating a language the source basically claims is German, just written like Hebrew.
That is quite a historical interpretation, a huge amount to take in. So according to this specific perspective, what does all this ancient history mean for today, for the current geopolitical situation?
Well, the source connects it directly. They say Khazaria is the center point of this battle happening now. These Khazarians, who the source also calls Talmudarians, are supposedly on the defensive because of Putin's actions. And the source explicitly links this to Putin having, and I'm quoting their language directly here, bitched about the biolabs for years, since 2009.
Biolabs meaning biolabs.
Yes, biolabs, implying a direct connection between this alleged Khazarian presence and the existence of biolabs in Ukraine. They see the current conflict as just the first of the skirmishes, part of a war they claim was planned for 20 years. And it's escalating in a weird way, as they put it, with rebuilding supposedly starting even while the conflict might go on for maybe another decade.
Wow. Okay, that's a really profound and definitely contentious way of framing current events.
Yeah.
And this idea of a deep state stirring things up,
Yeah.
it seems to go beyond just geopolitics in the source's view, right? Into finance, into societal control, all part of this bigger war leading to a sci-fi world.
Yes, absolutely. It's all connected in their narrative. They claim the deep state messed up in Canada in a big way, causing, quote, mass amounts of capital movement, leading to banksters freaking out. They even predicted sharp, emotionally biting kind of changes around the Ides of March.
And Canada was seen as some kind of test case.
Exactly, a point of first contact for rolling out digital ID for Western society. Because the assumption was, according to the source, that Canadians were basically thought to be extremely docile. They use the term goyim, interpreting it as beast or beast of burden. And they cite specific examples. People whose business bank accounts were frozen, affecting companies with, 30, 40, and 50 employees.
Freezing accounts for businesses that size. That's a massive disruption. So faced with these kinds of banking issues, what does the source suggest people do? Are there alternatives?
Yes. They point to a noticeable shift towards credit unions. They describe credit unions as being structured around shares, not depositories like banks. And this structure, they claim, gives them a contractual ability to fight back against regulation in a way that banks don't. Calls them a different kind of a critter, established way back in the 1930s Depression era.
Interesting distinction.
And they also highlight these ongoing capital flows moving out of the fiat banking system globally. Not just Canada, even people in Sweden reacting. This leads to what they call a cash lash, a kind of backlash against the bankers. People getting their cash out, buying gold, cashier's checks, and, very notably, moving into cryptos.
Right, the move to crypto. But surely governments won't just let capital flee into unregulated spaces like that. What about regulation? The source mentions the DOJ blowing horns.
Yeah, they portray the Department of Justice's crypto unit as basically just trying to scare people, blowing horns, arguing that if the government was really serious about cracking down, quote, they wouldn't say shit, they'd just do it quietly. They also assert that Trump, in their view, doesn't care about cryptos, seeing them as a danger only to Federal Reserve notes, maybe, but not the actual dollar. So fine, if people invest in crypto or real estate, whatever.
Okay, and here's where the source really seems to tie these financial and political threads back together.
Yeah.
Connecting the deep state actions, the banks, the biolabs.
Exactly. They state it very directly. Quote, if the deep state hadn't built the biolabs, Putin wouldn't have to blow them up. They also claim Ukrainian banks, which they allege are hubs for money laundering, are now pretty much toast.
Yeah.
And that Putin is taking those over as well, partly to get records. And all of this disruption, all these things coming to light, it contributes to what they call the secrets revealed period, which is happening right as we move into the sci-fi world, which is now.
A sci-fi world indeed. As if the geopolitics and the financial stuff weren't dramatic enough, the sources throw in another massive curveball, a prediction about an impending ice age. This certainly adds another layer of unsettledness. What are the details in this environmental shift, according to the source?
Yeah, it's quite a prediction. They talk about an oscillation, a kind of swinging of rain patterns. Specifically, they foresee a major drought getting worse in the southwest U.S. and southwest North America,
Right.
but also intense cold all over North America and extending into Kazakhstan and over into Mongolia and in Canada. Cold snaps unlike anything seen in some period of time.
So extreme drought and extreme cold.
And shifting seasons. They expect winter to start running out into May and June, then a very short, brief, intense summer, followed by virtually no fall, and back to winter by early October, maybe late September.
Wow, that's a drastic change to the seasons.
And the source suggests this chaotic climate, this unsettled world, will actually compound the effects of the Budo, that ongoing war or contention they describe.
Okay, so we have geopolitical conflict, financial breakdown, climate chaos. It's a lot. According to the source, what can individuals actually do to navigate all this, especially around technology and digital control?
Well, they offer some very specific recommendations. Strong advocacy for using Linux operating systems. They even mention a particular laptop, the Purism Librem 14 notebook, highlighting its DIP switches.
DIP switches, like physical switches.
Exactly. Physical switches to completely shut off potential points of access. Things like the Wi-Fi card, the microphone, the camera. No need for tape over your webcam with these. And it runs Pure OS, which is a form of Linux. They also mention getting a de-dualed phone, apparently from a company called Unchained Innovation in Australia, also running a Linux variant.
De-Googled, I assume.
That seems to be the implication, yes. And the source claims they personally experienced a dramatic drop-off in transmission of information using these devices, plus an increase in speed and bandwidth. Why? Because the devices are not sending all that Google crap back to Google or constantly reporting all of the stuff you're saying.
It's a significant claim about data transmission.
Yeah, they say switching fully to Linux reduced their background data leakage by, quote, easily by 45% and sometimes in peak cases, 90%. They even add this anecdote, claiming that back when they worked at Microsoft in Redmond in the 90s, they were told about the NSA putting stuff in via offices right there on campus.
Whoa, okay. An NSA backdoor story from inside Microsoft in the 90s. That's quite something. So the recommendation is clear. Switching to Linux isn't just for techies. It's presented as a way to regain some digital autonomy, to drop off some of the big tech control mechanisms.
Precisely. And potentially be less vulnerable if there were, as they suggest, attempts to shut down machines down the line. It's framed as a key move for navigating this emerging sci-fi world.
Okay, this feels like a good point to circle back to that core concept you mentioned earlier, the one the source uses to tie everything together. Budo. Let's unpack that. What exactly do they mean by it?
Right, Budo. They define it as contention in the way of enlightenment. It's a path to perfection or maybe mastery achieved through struggle. They draw an interesting parallel to the word jihad, emphasizing the source's claim that back in the 1960s, maybe, its primary meaning was more about personal struggle, not necessarily holy war.
Okay, so an internal struggle.
Exactly. They bring in a Japanese phrase, masakatsu agatsu, which the source translates as, true victory is victory over self. So Budo is framed as this internal battle, a personal jihad or personal Budo, overcoming your own limitations, perfecting yourself through a kind of inner war. They use a martial arts analogy. Steel is tested by steel as man is tested by man in contention. It's about testing yourself, seeing how your metaphorical blades are formed.
So Budo is this personal path of improvement through facing challenges.
Yeah.
What does that mean for us, the listener, collectively? In this bigger picture of a sci-fi world and global upheaval?
Well, the source states that it's not just individuals. All of society is also going through an initiation. We're going to be, quote, at struggle for the personal self of society globally, humanity globally. In a way, they say that's never been done before. So yes, the current skirmishes, the conflicts, they will escalate. But the ultimate outlook, according to the source, is one of significant victories and eventual rebuilding. It's a process.
What a journey this deep dive has been. Seriously, we've gone from cosmic rays affecting sleep, through Khazarian history, financial system shocks, a potential ice age, battling big tech with Linux. And it all comes back to this central idea of Budo, finding enlightenment, finding mastery through facing contention and struggle.
It really paints a picture of an unsettled world, doesn't it? At least for a while. And this theme of transformation, personal and societal struggle, it's woven through everything in these sources.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final, quite provocative thought, directly from the source. Something to really mull over. It encourages your own awareness and agency. They suggest that you realize you are an active agent of the event stream, that you can perceive the results of many of your actions before you even do them, giving you the opportunity to choose. You might discover, they say, that mostly you choose not to act. You see the consequences, the karma of the unfolding chain of events. As this event stream manifests into this eternal now, you'll notice your own actions are an integral part of how things emerge, part of the streams of karma that result from each and every action of all other life. It's a deep thought about our interconnectedness and choice within the flow of events. So the message seems to be, stay sharp, stay aware, because as the source bluntly puts it, we're at war now. Thank you again for providing such fascinating, challenging, and wide-ranging sources for us to explore in this deep dive.